Okay, so we're finishing off Mem Gimel today. They're important halachas and very relevant. Taking Tefillin into the bathroom and what about taking Sfarim? If you've got a little chumash or a little siddur that you keep in your pocket, can you take them into the bathroom? And these sort of things. What about, an interesting shayla we'll get to towards the end, you know, in the $1 bill, it says, "In God we trust." So you'd have to take a $1 bill into the bathroom? You know, I think on the coin as well. So is that considered shameless that you can't take in? So these are that's going to come out today in Misham. Okay, so we're up to Mem Gimel, Halacha Hey. Says the Mechaber, Imreitze likonis lebeis hakisei kavua lasei sarcha. The person wants to go to a beis hakisei kavua, a fixed, established bathroom, lasei sarchov, choltzin berichuk arba amas. He should take his tefillin off from a distance of 4 amas away from this beis hakisei. Says the Rama, even if he doesn't need to go in to use the bathroom, he just wants to walk in there for whatever reason, then he should take them off again. Berichuk arba amas. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Let's just do on that. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Yud Ches, the Beis Hakisei Kavua, Nokat Kavua Mishum Sefer. It says Kavua because of the Sefer of this halacha. Lashmu'ina da'afil beKavua. Even from Beis Hakisei Kavua, machnis ha-tefillin imay mishum shmira, that you are allowed to take your tefillin in for shmira, for looking after them. Avol ein hachanami da'afilu be'eino kavua klal tzorech lachlos berichuk daled amas mimakom sheretz lepondos. That even if it's not a Beis Hakisei Kavua, you still have to take your tefillin off from a distance of 4 amas. Uchadilel b'seif sif cotton yud gimel. It's for the chiddush of the sefer. And so too, if a person needs to urinate, also he has to take his tefillin off from a place of 4 amas away from that point. That according to the Rama, you have to take your tefillin off, even if you're just going into this Beis Hakisei. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Yutes, Hamogan Avram masik the Medina also likonis the Beis Hakisei betefillin. The Mogan Avram concludes that it's also to go into a Beis Hakisei wearing tefillin to loigar mimerchatz, because it's no worse than a merchatz from a bathhouse where people are undressed and you can't walk around with tefillin there. Lekamon b'siman memhei sif beis. I'm a prima godim Mordechai shekosu b'dimei divrei rosh lemashma hochi. That it's mashma not like the Mogan Avram, according to the Rosh. Gam midivrei Rav hai lo mashma hochi ein shom. However, b'sefer eshkol b'shem agon mashma kateros the Mogan Avram ein shom. However, they quote the answer of the Mogan Avram, that Medina, it's also likonis lebeis hakisei with tefillin. Okay, let's carry on the mechaber. V'goylon b'ritzuos. So how do you take your tefillin off? You wrap them b'ritzuos shelohen, in their straps, in their wrappings. V'oichzon b'yaminai of a big day keneged libay, and you hold them with your right hand of a big day wrapped up in your clothes, keneged libay, sort of opposite your chest. And you've got to make sure that the ritzuas, they're all wrapped up properly, that they're not sort of hanging loose. And then you walk away from the Beis Hakisei 4 amas, and then you put the tefillin back on. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah, Sifkot and Chof, why be a minnow? Why should you be holding them in the right hand? Not with your left hand, because you need the left hand to wipe after you've been to the bathroom, like we've discussed previously. Right at the very beginning in Siman Gimel. And we're not worried about the tzaitzes sort of splashing over here. To given the Ma'ar Beis Hakisei Kavua, because we're talking about a Beis Hakisei Kavua, mistama is tzarchav miyushav, and therefore mistama, a person is sitting down because this is an established Beis Hakisei. Kosov harama siman nuntes the mutar likonis betfillin lemevuas hamatunofis. You're allowed to go into a street which is matunaf, which is it's dirty. There's rubbish, garbage cans, or whatever it may be. Even if it's very clearly a makam matunaf. If you're walking in the street and you come to a makam matunaf, so therefore you put your hat over the tefillin, that will cover them. In number 13, he says, you can even just put your hand over the tefillin. That would help. And if you want to take them off and put them back on, then shapidami, that's great. When you know that you're walking through places which is a matunaf, which is a dirty sort of alleyway, street or whatever, don't put them on at home, because you're going to have to go through the streets which are considered matunaf. Rather, put them on in the Beis HaKnesses, or you put them on at home, and you make sure that you cover them when you go to the makom, when you go through that particular mavui. If you look at note number 14, he says, and that could be what nowadays, people, the preference is to put your tefillin on when you from home and walk to shul in your tefillin. But nowadays, I guess most of us don't do this. You see a few yechidim do it. The vast majority of us don't. Either it could be we're in Chutz La'aretz and it's not done. But even in Eretz Yisrael, if you know that you're going through a mokum which is matunah, one should avoid doing it. Because you know you're coming through a place where there's garbage cans or there's dustbins out in the public or things like that. Okay, carrying on the Mishnah Berurah. The that one should, even if you're walking through a mavi which is matunaf, which is there's dirt there, it's unclean, then you not only have to cover the tefillin, but even the ritzuos as well. And certainly the 3 wrappings around the finger of a tshuva, because that makes up the letters of Yud of Shokai. Of a tshuva Radvaz chelik dalet siman lamed vav mashma gam kein shesover the medina tzorich lechasas hatfilin b'makomis hamatunofos. The medina you've got to cover them. V'chol she'iyef shelechasos mutav shenichem beis hakneses. And if it's impossible to cover them, then you should put them on in the Beis HaKnesses. Mashma shom hadalas v'hayud sheberetzuas. The dalad and the yud on the retzuas ein tzorich lechasas shehem derech kshira v'lo derech ksiva, because that's just the way you tie it, rather than its actual proper writing. Ein shom. If you look at note number 16, he says v'rechovas sheyesh bohem pache ashpa. So what about streets where you've got garbage cans, you've got dustbins, and for example, our bins, the big bins, which now, so that's today's Wednesday, right? So on a Wednesday morning, at least in my street, that's when the collection comes. So you walk down the street, every house has put them out onto the pavement. So is that a problem? So das hagon Shlomo Zalman Auerbach she'ein lahachshivim k'mavuos hamatunofim. Having dustbins, garbage cans out in the street does not make that into a mavui matunuf. However, me'idach das hagon Rabbi Yashav she'pachi ashba goyrim l'chov l'chashav k'mavuos. So you got a machlekes. Yeah, does garbage cans out in the street make it into a mavi matunaf? That is a machlekes of Shlomo Zalman and Rabbi Yashav. Okay, halacha vav. Hayalavish b'tefillin. A person is wearing tefillin for hutzruch lebeis hakisei, and he needs the bathroom belayla. Aysamuch lechashecha, or it's close to getting dark. She'ein shuhus lanichem oid achay sheyetzei. By the time he goes to the bathroom and comes out again, he doesn't need to put on the tefillin. There's not going to be time to put on the tefillin again. Again, we're talking about a situation where people would wear tefillin all day. Lo yikonis bohem gewinim bebigdei va'afilu lahashtin maya beis hakisei kavua. You shouldn't go in, sort of cover them up. Elakeitzad yaseh choltzon. You take them off, umanichen bekli, and you put them into a kli, im hoi bei tefach, if there is a gap of a tefach in the kli above, so that's a good barrier to the to the Beis HaKisei that you're going into, or a kli that is not its sort of designated container, even though there isn't a tefach, and you put them into this kli and then you go in, because then you're not putting them on afterwards. So then you should wrap them up properly, and rather than just cover them and go in. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Katan Chaf Aleph, Gedulim b'bigdei Ratzolema, Mashehuta b'Sif Hakodim, that which we allowed in the previous Sif, La'achson b'Yamina b'bigdei, that you hold them in your right hand, wrapped up in your clothes. That's dafka kashiyesh shus lanichem oidachakach. That's only if you have the intention to put them on after you come out of the bathroom. Lo yitrichu lanichem b'kli. Chazal won't matriach you that you've got to wrap them, put them back in a kli or something like that. Mashein kein kan, mashein kein be'ein shus. Mashein kein in this sif, where there is no time afterwards because it's getting dark, that you're not going to put them on, so then you should actually put them away properly before you go into the bathroom. Im hoy bo tefach, avol kashein bo tefach, if this container does not have a tefach, bottle agabe tefillin, then it's bottle. Given shehu kilyon, because that is its container. For also lachnisin lebeis hakisei. B'yodav v'nichnas shelo yitlo oisam over drachim, because you can't just leave them on the streets because someone might take them. Okay, Sif Cotton Zayin. Sif Zayin. Says the Mechaber, Ba'med Ramamurim beveis hakisei shebesode. Ad kan, we're talking about a beis hakisei in a field. Our beis hakisei shebebayis lo yachnisem klal. Then in a bathroom in a house, you shouldn't take your tefillin in there at all. Because you can take them off, put them on the table, and then put them back on when you leave the bathroom. You shouldn't take tefillin into the bathroom in our contemporary sort of setups. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Chaftalad Klal Mashma Dafidu Bakis Leachnisim. Even in a bag, you shouldn't take the tefillin in. Ve'ayin b'machzah shekel shekosov de'imein b'kison v'noison b'kis hatofa b'mabushay de'oisa kis ein akinyan v'avit kli metoich kli umuta. If it's in a kli metoich kli, then that would be okay. I'll give you an example. Sometimes, let's say you're in the airport, you're in a service station, and you've got your hand luggage, and you've got your tefillin in your hand luggage. So you don't leave it in the outside, it's not mishtama. So mishtama, because it's in a kli, it's in its own bag, and it's in another kli within that bag, which is, and also because it's in a mokum which is not mishtama, so mishtama to put it, sort of in the back of the bathroom there, not in the cubicle with you perhaps, but just in the corner there, maybe in the cubicle even. Maybe that could be, a contemporary application of this. So maybe that would be okay. Hamishtameh. What about other svarim? What about chumash, siddur, things like that? Osha svarim, says the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Kotan Chafhei. Osha svarim uchsavim sheyesh bo shemus, which have got the Shem Hashem in them, like a chumash would do and a siddur would do. V'imheim bekis shari lachnisam. If they're in a cover, then that's allowed. V'yesh oimrim debuin davka tik b'toich. He needs a double kiss. To go into a bathroom, or in tefillin. For sefer Torah also b'chol gavni. A sefer Torah is not allowed in any situation to be brought into the beis hakisei. For kosav b'shari tshuva to oisen hamal bishin hatinokus b'kamiyah shekosav shemus b'klaf. Those people who put a kamiyah, like an amulet, on a child, and they put on the amulet they write shemus, the shemus of Hashem. You've got to make sure that amulet is wrapped up in a kli, b'teich kli, that the double protection to allow that. Because the kids would sort of soil themselves whilst they're still wearing this amulet. So take a look at two interesting notes, number 21 and 22. Now this is at the back, in my version it's at the back of the book. 21 and 22, it's on page 9 in the Miluim right at the back. 21. The divrei Torah, the short one, so if you can't find it, I'll read it. The divrei Torah she'ein bohen shemus. So till now we're talking about a siddur or chumash, which clearly have the shemus of Hashem. So he said putting them in a tik, b'toich tik, that would be okay. But what about divrei Torah which have not got shemus? So I don't know, a parsha sefer or your own notes or things like that. Kosav agon Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. That she'ein isali konis itom lebeis hakisei ela kashem megulim. The only problem is if you take them in and they're open, they're exposed. Ach loy kashem mechusim u'menachim bebeged. But if they're in your pocket and they're covered, afilu mechusim bekiso echad. Even if it's just one covering, that would be okay. But divrei Torah mechusim u'menachim b'toich kis habeged. If it's in your pocket, harihem k'menachim b'kli b'toich kli. Very interesting. So if you've got some divrei Torah, or you've got notes or something, and you put them in a pocket in your clothing, so he says here that's considered kli metoich kli, or l'chol hadei mutzah likonis itom beis hakisa afilu l'asher tzorchov, and then you'll be allowed to bring them in. So again, if it's a chumash or a siddur, you should put it in a kli. I've seen people, they put them in a plastic bag or something in your pocket, a little sort of plastic container. That's good, and then you can go into the bathroom with your little chumash or siddur, because that's considered a kli b'toich kli. Things which have not got the shemus of Hashem, then even just putting them in your pocket, that seems to be okay. Now, look at number 22, very interesting. V'shtar shekosav lo shem belaz. What about a shtar which has the name of Hashem written in it, belaz? In other words, in English, G-O-D, or God, the Shach talks about. The cost of the kagoin shtar dollar, a dollar bill. It says, "In God we trust." Cost of Agadon Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, shemutzer lachnis lebeis hakisei. That's not a problem. You can take that into the beis hakisei. Mishum shledas hashach. This is the famous shach in Yerdech Kufay and Tesif Kot Nidalev. Shem hakosov belaz ein boy kedusha. The shach says that the Shem Hashem written in a non-Jewish language, in English, when he says Gimel Aleph Tes, got, or in English, G-O-D, it hasn't got any kedusha. V'chein kosav Mishnah Berurah Kamon shemutar limchik shem hakosav belaz. There's no issa of mechikas Hashem with the name of Hashem written in laz in a non-Jewish language.
So why do people do G-D?
It's a chumrah. It's a chumrah. It's a chumrah. Me'ikad din one doesn't need to, but I think contemporary practice is to do that. But according to this shach, it would be okay. But there are some of their other opinions. Okay, let's just finish off. Ches and tes. Ches im shachach tefillin bereishei. A person forgot he was wearing tefillin, and v'osam bartzach, when he went to the bathroom, maniach yoda alein ad sheyigmar amud harishon. He suddenly realizes he's sort of in the middle of going to the bathroom. He should cover them with his hand until he's finished the first sort of stage of going to the bathroom. V'yotze v'cholzem v'choyzev v'nichnas, and then you go out, and then you take them off, and then you go back and finish off in the bathroom. Says the Mishnah Berurah sheyigmar da amat hachoyzev maybe the adam midei hidroken. You shouldn't just run out, because if you're about to go to the bathroom and not going straight away is also dangerous. It's considered medically dangerous. When you're about to urinate and you hold back, it could bring a person to Yerokim, which I think is translated as jaundice. But whatever these medical ailments are, one should avoid holding back. So if you go into the bathroom and you've remembered you've got tefillin on, then you do the initial stage of going to the bathroom, and then you go out, take them off, and then you can go back into the bathroom. Halacha tes, mutzer l'roifei, likach avit shalmei raglaim. It's mutzah for a doctor to take some sort of a specimen, like a test tube or a bed chamber or whatever it is. But Yodev, the tefillin bereishon, is still wearing his tefillin. Or bal nefesh yachmir la'atzmei. But the bal nefesh should try and avoid that if possible. Says the Mishnah Berurah l'roif likach livdek b'acholet, to check out this ill person. Ve'ein tzarich lachlos al tefillin. He doesn't need to take his tefillin off strictly. Me'ikadin. And the classic case would be a roifer, a doctor, but the ma'aser hu adin for anybody else as well, that it's better, bal nefesh should be machmir to take it off, but strictly speaking, he doesn't need to. Okay, say that.